Record in there. All right. Tim's kinda dumb. Let's help him get smart. It's time to teach Tim stuff. Hey, welcome to Time to Teach Tim. We got Dave Namery here.
I like the jingle.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I wrote it myself.
It's really good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
3 chords. Yeah, I'm really testing my music ability.
That's all you need sometimes.
Yeah. So what are you going to be teaching us today?
We're going to teach you how to troll on the internet.
Ah, all right. Something that you are quite proficient at.
It doesn't get better. I've mastered it to this point that it's boring. I don't do it very much anymore.
Really? Trolling bores you now?
No, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
But it's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be a challenge, something I was getting better at. I could see progress, but you reach a certain point and you're like, I can't get any better at this.
Yeah. Are you bummed out now that Biden's president? Is trolling going to not be as good?
It's great.
Trolling's better.
You just shift gears. And you redirect the sarcasm. That's all.
Yeah.
You know?
So what you're saying doesn't really matter. It's more the reaction that you get.
That's all it is,
Yeah.
Tim. That's the whole game. You know, like, you ask yourself this question. This is how it goes. You spend your first few years on the internet, on social media, and you actually try to have discussions with people, you know?
Yeah.
You try to convince them of the error of their thinking, you know? Mm-hmm. You go, this person thinks this, and that's wrong, and I want to help them. So you try to fix them.
Yeah.
At first nicely, and then eventually you get angry. You start using ad hominem attacks rather than attacking ideas. So you attack them personally.
All right. I was going to say, that's a big word for me. Thank you for explaining.
Sure, you threaten their family.
All right.
But it doesn't work. So you spend your first few years trying to do this, and eventually you realize it's all for naught. You can't do it. It'll never work. So you ask yourself, why am I wasting all this energy? I'm trying to convince people of things. I'm trying to change minds. And it's not working.
Yeah.
So I should stop doing this. And so you stop, and then you go, well, what can I do? Reliably. What can I do on the internet reliably? And the answer is bother people.
Yeah.
Make them angry. Make them upset. And what you find is that not only is it easy, it's so easy that you do it by accident sometimes. And then you go, I want to get better at this. This is something I really enjoy. I want to get better at it. And you put the time in. It's reps. It's about reps.
It's about the hours you're putting in. It's about the experience, taking that and then adding new angles.
You got to get your 10,000 hours in.
Yeah.
It's like mastering any other art form. And I view it as an art form.
I think you take it to an art form.
I agree. I know. It's very impressive. I know. A lot of people tell me that.
So, like, did you grow up with the internet? Like, I don't know how old you are.
I'm 27 years old.
All right, so you're another young one, too. Yeah, I feel
Well, how old are you?
35.
Yeah, you're old as fuck. You're over the hill.
Yeah.
You're over the hill.
Well, 8 years. That's an extra 8 years I didn't have the internet. So I just learned to not care what people think.
So you're essentially a boomer.
I'm almost. Yeah.
Well, actually, no, because you're in that middle ground.
Yeah. I'm
Because
like,
boomers are as easy as anyone else to troll.
yeah.
In some cases, easier than most.
And that boomers you control by accident.
Yeah.
You can just like use a paper straw. And,
Yeah.
And it's super easy. My sister has a little stand with like aluminum straws, and I can imagine just bringing that out into like Starbucks or something and like pissing off everybody who ordered a black coffee.
Exactly. I mean, I'll give you an example. Recently, I was on Twitter, and someone I didn't like said something stupid. They always do that. The people I don't like, they always say stupid things.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I'm fall victim to it as well, because it bothers me. But then I go, I need to bother them more than they bothered me. But one thing, I forget what they said. It was some old person said something stupid. So I said, I said something like, this is a really terrible boomer take. You know, I said something about them being a boomer. And then a different boomer came in and said, "You're just mad that we actually saved money and we're wealthy and you guys are all poor and none of you work or whatever." And I went, that's odd, because he had like American flags and like MAGA in his Twitter handle, and I was like, I was arguing against like a liberal. So I was like, what is this guy doing? And I checked his profile, and I was like, I responded to him. I was like, dude, we agree. I was like, I wasn't talking about you boomers. I was like, you guys are fine. I was like talking about these. But it was funny because that he didn't even realize that I was on his side. You know, like we were on the same side.
And see, that's where the art of it comes in, where you're even able to make him mad.
Yeah, well, there's still surprises. Even after all these years, there's still surprises like that. And I go, wow, that guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, we're teammates here.
Yeah.
Low friendly fire. It happens to the best of us.
So with trolling, like, it's such like an internet thing because, like, I mean, if you were to say like a lot of the things like you say to people face to face, like they almost then are in on the joke. Then, you know, like it doesn't. I feel like when you make those types of jokes or comments that are like invoking emotion, like face to face, like it's almost bonding. Like, because if they also think it's funny, they can read all the signs of it.
No,
but where the internet,
I disagree with you.
Really? All right.
If I was to do the type of trolling that I do in person, I would run the risk of being physically assaulted. And I think it would happen often.
Yeah.
And I can't really defend myself. Even women they could probably mess me up, especially now that Biden made it legal for men to be women. They would be especially dangerous.
Oh yeah,
the ones who are actually guys.
Yeah. Well, that's why they're trying to, or Joe Rogan's trying to keep them out of sports or something.
Well, he's a bigot and a fascist.
I read that on a very pro-America website.
Yeah, well, that's something that the main thing that the Nazis are remembered for is that they did not allow biological men to play sports with women. Obviously, that goes without saying. I mean, anyone who's educated on history knows that. And that's a primary tenet of fascism.
I feel like you are giving us a masterclass in trolling right now.
I feel like I'm giving you a masterclass in a lot of stuff. And we're right out of the gate. And it's going really well. And I'm very hungover. And I think it's appropriate for this conversation.
Yeah. I'm glad hair and makeup took care of you before you came out.
Are you insulting me? I'm also promoting. I'm self-promoting.
Oh, yes.
This is my podcast. It's called Storytime with Dave. It's way better than your podcast.
Yeah, well, 1,000 hours, you know. I wouldn't say that also. But
no, it's very overrated.
Yeah, it's because you go on Apple Podcasts and keep rating it 5 stars. And then
I know.
I saw the 1 star you threw in there for.
No, there are several 1 stars, and that's from a time when I was at war with the Chinese. The Chinese comedians in New York City banded together against me, and there was a conspiracy to bring the rating of my podcast down, which they did successfully for several months, where it was 4.5 stars rather than the rightful 5-star rating that it deserves. At this point, I believe it's back to 5 stars. But they tried to ruin me because I didn't want to play their games. Because you know China. How do you address China? You have to stand firm.
Yeah.
You can't fold. Or you create business ties like Joe Biden, and you become beholden to them. But I love Joe. That's my president.
I'm amazed. Normally, whenever Asian people get together to do something, they accomplish that goal. I'm amazed that they weren't able to take it down.
I just think there weren't enough, surprisingly, because there are so many. I know. And I know people hear that and they go, what do you mean there's not enough? There's 1 billion Chinese. But they didn't call in domestic help. This was strictly immigrant Chinese, mostly naturalized citizens.
Yeah.
Only one of whom was not. I revealed to her that Mao Zedong was not a good guy, actually.
He was not a good guy.
Yeah, for that reason, I was
You were attacked.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just trying to help, educate.
I guess that was in-person trolling.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I said something. I don't remember. I was on stage and I said something like, all I want to do really is. I think I was just talking about the idea of like.
I love that you paused. You're like, I'm not even going to say it now.
Yeah, I don't remember. Sometimes I like to make jokes, right?
Yeah.
About like my desire to someday reach a personal milestone, which would be enacting or at least getting the ball rolling on like some kind of genocide. I don't really care what kind. It could be anyone. It could be whites. I don't care. It could be white Christians. I don't care. That has more popular support, I think. It could be Cambodians. I don't care. They already got one. They're getting another. I think they did, right? Was that Pol Pot? Was Cambodia?
There's a holiday in Cambodia.
There's a holiday in Cambodia.
All I know.
Yeah, I think they're talking about the genocide there.
Yeah.
Alleged genocide. They're all alleged. I think a lot of are false flags, to be fair. But
or just wild, inaccurate reporting.
Yeah, and so I think I was describing Mao as a personal hero. Because I says to myself, like, tens of millions? Perhaps as many as 50 million. And you look at that and you go, I know there's a lot of Chinese, and we went over that already. Even still, it's like, those are big numbers. Those are big numbers. And he did most of it in 4 years. That was a great leap forward.
Really? How long was Mao around? Mao is something I know absolutely.
I think he was their
about.
leader for like 25 or 30 years, something like that. Yeah. I'm just making that up. But
okay.
I know it was a while.
Now, is making stuff up a big part of trolling?
Yes. And then doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. There's no dialing back. You say something and that's it. Or, this is the beauty of trolling. There are so many different directions you can take it.
Yeah.
Because you can either double down or you can immediately reverse course. I'll give you an example of this. For months, I played the Trump supporter, which was somewhat legitimate and then somewhat like me just messing around with people because I knew that was where the trolling became boring. I think it was towards the end of Trump's presidency because you went like, this is just too easy. You could say anything. You could say something if someone goes on Facebook and they go, this is atrocious the way he's behaving. This is absolutely unacceptable. It's not presidential behavior. It is fascism. It's Nazi, white supremacy, neo, whatever, conservative. I don't know, whatever the fuck they say. And, but no, they like neoconservatives actually. It's weird enough. But then I could just comment like, I don't know. I don't think it was that bad. That's enough to have a full-blown meltdown from someone.
Yeah.
Someone could be going off about Trump and you just go,
yeah.
Meltdown. And you're like, okay, this isn't requiring very much from me.
Yeah.
But so I went through my time, I'll just play a role. I'm like, there's an opening and fulfill the opening on what is required of you.
Yeah.
Did I just say that right? What is required of you? Did I say that? What is required of? Did I say what is required of you? Did I say something like that?
Something like that. I think it made sense to me in the moment, but then again, I'm dumb. So
I know. Like I said, I'm very hungover. But like I said, also it's gonna work.
Yeah.
So you do what's asked of you, and you don't. And sometimes trolling requires you to say things that you don't believe at all.
Yeah.
And that's just part of the game.
Yeah.
Because it's beyond that. It's far. It's way more important than what your personal beliefs are. It's like at the end of the day, whatever you think, I think the opposite. That's trolling. And then even if you agree with me, in this moment we do not.
Yeah.
And so I will just play that role. But this is what I was going to say. For months I would do that, and a primary victim of this was my cousin. And I talk about it on stage at comedy all the time. Yeah. He gets very upset. He's one of those like liberals, but one of those liberals who also doesn't like the people who are like leftists who don't like establishment liberals. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, kinda.
I like those guys. Like I don't really. I just change like every couple weeks. I'm like, now I'm a Marxist. Now I'm a fascist. Now I'm a Nazi. Now I'm a communist. You know, I just bounce around.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I like what that person has to say. So I like some of these leftists, you know, like Jimmy Dore and like Glenn Greenwald and these people who are trolls themselves, but they're leftist trolls, and they also like bothering those establishment and liberals. The people who are like, Nancy Pelosi is fighting for the American people. The people who actually believe that. That's what I'm talking about. And they happen to be the easiest targets right now.
Yeah.
It's like, it would be like, they're like the equivalent of like early 90s conservatives talking about rap music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you're like, do you understand how stupid you sound? And they think all these, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but this, okay, I'm going to finally get to the point. But this is good content. I mean, we're filling time. For months, I did this, and I would bother him, and he was primary target. And I would always get blowback from him. And it was so funny. And I would never tell him the obvious thing, which was stop looking at my Facebook posts. I would never tell him that. I'm like, he'll have to figure it out for himself. He still hasn't.
Yeah.
Like, just don't look at my Instagram story then.
Yeah, it's that simple.
It's very simple. I don't look at his because I know it will bother me. So I just don't look.
Yeah.
And I think that adds to the trolling. We'll get into that. That's advanced trolling. We'll get into that a little later. So he would always get mad. And then finally, it was gloating time for him because Trump lost the election. Yeah. And a few days ago, he texted me and he sent me a picture. There's like a meme. It's funny because everything goes full circle. You remember the Hillary Clinton supporter who was like screaming and crying on the ground when Trump won? Yeah. And then there's a video that went viral of a Trump supporter who was crying on camera. Like, we lost our country to the communists, you know, like whatever. We need Donald Trump. It's like, it's full circle.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And he sent that to me and he goes, this is you right now. And I just said, dude, Trump's a fucking faggot. You know? I just said, no. I said, I don't like him at all.
Yeah.
He didn't even pardon Assange. What a pussy. You know? And then it's like, so that's called like the long con troll.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm going to, for months, perhaps even years, I'm going to play this role. And then as soon as you have the opportunity to get or I have to get my comeuppance or whatever, you know, it's coming back around to me.
Yeah.
I deflect. The ultimate deflection, which is, no, I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also hate Trump. Worst president we've ever had. You know? And boom, it's over. You disarm them, and that's one of the most satisfying trolls there is. It's the long con troll.
Because it's so infuriating.
Exactly. This person goes, I finally got you, motherfucker. And then you go, not only did you not get me, but I'm also happy. That's just, oh God. It's getting me going right now. Just thinking about it.
See, what I like about trolling is like, it works on people who are so firm in their beliefs, who are like unwavering and like don't see the irony of things that they believe in their soul. Like,
yeah.
And like what trolling does is poke at them like, hey, you're not perfect. Your ideas aren't perfect. Also, there is no such thing as a perfect person or a perfect idea.
Yeah.
And it almost tears them down in a way that like, I love watching people get angry over realizing that they're wrong.
Everyone's got blind spots.
Yeah, yeah.
Surrounded by blind spots, especially politically.
Yeah.
There's so many blind spots. And you just go, like, you can't believe what they're saying. It's like with this whole censorship thing. Or let's talk about the domestic terrorism thing. Like after the insurrection.
Yeah. The
insurrection, quote unquote, for those listening to audio.
Yeah.
The attempted coup. So they want to put in new rules now for domestic terrorism. But let's be honest, like Trump's out. Who's going to be the ones in the streets rioting? It's like they're just going to use that on black people.
Yeah.
And I don't think people don't see that. And you go, It's like the 94 crime bill.
Yeah.
Joe Biden, that's my president. Love him. But it's like, he was like, we're going to be tough on crime. Because it was like an election thing.
Yeah.
Because that was just the people, it had a lot of popular support in the 90s. Law and order.
Yeah.
You know?
New
Trump
York
tried to bring
City.
it back, and people were like, nah, it's all right. But, you know, like, he did that to get tougher on crime, and it's like, it just ended up increasing, mostly like it was drug offenses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Minor drug offenses a lot of the time. And then that was people in inner cities, and a lot of them were black. But now what's going to happen is you're going to have like, you know, I don't know what's going to happen. It's like, what happens the next time if you pass those domestic terrorism bills, and then the next time a white cop shoots a black guy, and then they go and they protest, and maybe some of it gets a little violent, then those people there, that's who they're using. Because like, these people aren't going to go to the Capitol anymore. Biden's president. Trump's gone.
Yeah.
They're not going to use
There's
it.
no
on
reason to.
They're going to use it on people who think they want it.
Yeah.
And mostly it's white people who are like, we know best.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
And yeah. And it's like, and then they realize that it backfires, and it's not being used against the people they want it to be used on. And they go, oops.
Yeah.
Maybe the next president will reverse it in 12 years, you know? Poor black people. I don't really care, you know, like that's how they feel.
It's like after 9/11 with all the surveillance, the law they passed, Patriot Act.
Exactly.
Like, I don't think their intention is to use it that way, but once it's there,
I don't think you're nearly cynical enough.
I'm not. I'm really not.
Alex Berenson said when he was on Joe Rogan, and I like this one, is that it's impossible to be too cynical when it comes to politicians, which is definitely true.
Yeah, I unfortunately, I think I'd agree with you, but it's just not who I am as a person.
Well, let's change who you are as a person, but then I'm going to realize that's useless, and I'm going to start trolling you.
Yeah.
That's for us full circle from the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, let's talk. So we were talking about blind spots, because obviously that's the point that you exploit for good trolling. For example, this is one of my proudest trolls of the year of 2020. I just went on the internet. This was after Trump, when it was still up in the air. It looked like he lost the election, but it was still up in the air. They hadn't decided yet.
So like day 3, day 4.
And then all these liberals were saying, I should just say Biden supporters, because it's like they're all over the place.
Yeah.
But people who did not want Trump to win, all these people who hated Trump, they were going, voter fraud? What are you talking about? You know, they were like, what are you saying? They're like, a rigged election. What are you saying? So I went on Facebook, and all I posted was the 2016, because they kept saying this buzzword, so I included it in mine, or like this buzz phrase. I said the 2016 election was rigged by Russia. The 2020 election was the safest and most secure election of all time. That was all I said. And people got so mad because I just said it because it was like, this is what you believe.
Yeah.
You really think this.
Yeah.
4 years ago, we had the most rigged election by an outside source.
Yeah.
And this time, it was the safest and most secure election.
Yeah.
You think that. I just said it. And then people are getting so mad, and I go, why are you getting mad at me? I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's I guess but I'm agreeing with you, troll. You know?
Yeah.
Why are you getting mad at me? I'm agreeing with you, troll. Yeah. That's like what that is.
But that's great, because like it pokes at how easily people just switch sides based on the thing they believe. Like,
they don't even think about it.
Yeah.
It's just over. I mean, there's been so much of that. It's like all the hypocrisy, but like, I like when the hypocrisy works for us. Like, I think I was talking to TJ about this, but it's like, is it annoying that Biden's coming in? And I was curious how they were going to play it. I was like, are they going to make coronavirus worse and keep putting us into this new normal so they can exploit it for more stuff that they want?
Yeah.
Or are they going to make Biden the hero who comes in, makes a few changes, and then all of a sudden coronavirus disappears because of his leadership. It looks like they're doing the latter.
Yeah.
Because they've now changed how they classify positive cases, where it needs to be confirmed. If you're asymptomatic, you have to have 2 positive PCR tests instead of 1.
Because they're not accurate.
So now to be a confirmed case, I think you need symptoms, at least minor symptoms, and either 1 or 2 positive PCR tests. But before they were just like, do you feel good? You probably have coronavirus. Like, did you wake up this morning feeling refreshed and renewed? That's a symptom. And now it's like reverse course, and they just change it, and even in the headlines, like the whole language is different. CNN doesn't put the death counter on TV anymore. You know, it hasn't been. It's only been a few days. We're only like 3 or 4 days into the Biden presidency, but it hasn't been on yet. They'd rather talk about Kamala's fashion choices.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's like that's the hypocrisy working for us. Like, if you want the nation to open back up and you hate Biden, it doesn't matter. You got to just take the L here. Biden can be the hero. I don't care.
Yeah.
I was saying it on stage, like, whoever gets the mask off my face
is who I'm voting
whoever
for.
makes it so I can go into like the supermarket without a mask on, that's my favorite president ever.
Yeah.
If it's Joe Biden, then so be it. He's my favorite. You know, I'm like, I don't care. So make him the hero. But there is like obscene levels of hypocrisy in this shift.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
Yeah.
Because the hypocrisy works.
And that's what makes politics like the perfect troll. I don't even want to call it a topic. It's just, it's like,
it's a whole realm.
yeah.
That's all I troll. I don't do other kinds of trolling, generally speaking.
Yeah.
It doesn't interest me. It's mostly political trolling. Because people are there were just the heightened emotions of it in the past 4 years particularly.
Yeah.
It's never been that emotional.
Well, like I guess it's always kind of been us versus them, but like the last 4 years specifically, which like I don't understand, because like I can remember not knowing. I know now, but like I couldn't tell you how my parents voted like my whole life up until probably this last election. Like, it was never an issue, like, in our family. It was never an issue outside of our family. Like, I never cared who my friends voted for, ever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Trump pops up, and it's like, I need to care.
Yeah.
Because if I don't care, I'm a bad person. Personally, I don't care who's president. It literally does not affect me.
It doesn't, yeah. I'm like, this is annoying. It's like, you know, I see already immediately, as soon as Biden's in office, it's like, there was a story the other day, like a convoy of like 40 armored vehicles moving from Iraq back into Syria. And I shared it. This is my new angle of trolling. It's like you have to adapt quickly if you're a troll. You have to adapt quickly because the changing political landscape, and you can't be caught off guard. And you can't become the one who's then emotional about it.
Yeah.
You know? That's why, like, when certain things happen, I have to wait. Because I'm like, right now, it's acute even for me. This is the acute period. And I'm going to get bothered by people. And they're going to get under my skin.
Yeah.
So like sometimes we'll give it a grace period of like 3 or 4 days. And then I'll be like, okay, now I'm ready. Because I don't really care.
Yeah, yeah.
But, yeah, so it's like I shared that story about the convoy of the 40 armored vehicles. And I was like, we're back, baby. I was like, this is the America I know. It's football, killing Muslims. That's the America that I know. So that's the new trolling. It's like, I'm just telling you what he's doing.
Yeah.
Now, when Obama was doing this, I liked Obama. Like, I was on that side then. So I ignored it. I was like, Obama's like the best president we ever had. And then later on, when I was in my trolling phase, because trolling also requires you to do your research too. And then in that phase, I was like, this guy killed a lot of innocent civilians. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he wasn't so great. And then you look at a big picture and you're like, they were like the same guy, like Bush and Obama. It was like the same guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's like, you know, you got to do that. But I forget. I was distracted by TJ's fucking annoying as fuck. Oh my god, you would not believe what it's like living with him. It's horrible. But I was distracted. Oh wait, the convoy. I remember.
Yeah.
So I was like, we're back. But then that's what that is. So it's like, I'm just pointing out what's going on that you wouldn't like.
Yeah.
But your guy's doing it now. And that's the other thing. It's like trolls thrive when you're not in the power position. So when Trump is president and you're technically in the power position, because to be a troll during the Trump era, it was easier to be the person supporting Trump.
Yeah.
You could be a really good troll hating Trump, but it got so cliche so quickly. It was like by 2017, it was like, you doing that?
Yeah.
It's like comedians like making jokes about Trump, and it just got boring after a while, like the late night talk show hosts.
Yeah.
But then there was a unique angle. The more unique angle was being like bothering people by supporting him.
Yeah.
So now that Biden's in charge, it's like, it's just very sarcasm heavy trolling.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, no, I like this. Like, what, you guys don't want new wars? I'm like, Trump was such a bitch, he didn't even start a new war.
Yeah.
Like, what a piece of shit, really? Like, does he not understand American values and spreading democracy, you know?
Yeah.
And now that Biden's doing it, I'm like, this is a good position to be in.
Yeah. Do you think you're going to get bored of the pro-Biden backhanded anti-pro-Biden stance? Like, do you think like in 20, what year are we in, 2021? In like 2022, you'll have to change your stance to be like pro-Trump again? Like,
I mean, maybe I mean, like, when I play around being like a communist, like a full-blown like anarcho-communist.
Oh,
Sometimes
yeah.
I do that angle, you know? Like, no, like, I hate Biden. This is why. Because it could be like, I hate Biden because he stole the election from Trump. That's one angle. But the other one's like, I hate Biden because I want full-blown socialism.
Oh, yeah,
and I love Bernie. and the Democrats stole the election from Bernie.
Yeah.
That could be the other angle.
And in fact, he's not liberal enough.
Exactly.
He hasn't provided corporations with enough power.
That's like, see, there's so many ways to take it. You're seeing it right now. It's like, that's the fun of trolling. There's a lot of creativity involved.
Yeah.
But this has been, there's never been a better time in the history of the world to be a troll than the past few years, and now it extends.
Yeah.
Because that's like, we were talking about this, right? Me and TJ were talking about it, I think. It's like, maybe it wasn't TJ, I forget. But a lot of people are like, oh, don't you, it's like, it's going to go back to normal now. People won't really care about politics. And I'm like, not really. I'm like, I think this fundamentally changed forever, or at least for a long time. Maybe not forever, but it's not just ending now. I think a lot of people chilled, and you could sense a reduction in tension immediately, which is good. But people still focused on it. People are still focused on it. Maybe it'll fade out.
Yeah.
But like, think of it's like in 2022, the Republicans are going to win the House and probably the Senate, and then Biden's going to have divided government, which they want.
Yeah.
The presidents want that if they're playing ball for the big boys.
Yeah.
You know, which Trump did too. They all do it.
And by big boys, corporations.
Yeah. And because then they're like, I can't do it. Like, because people are like, why don't you do this?
Yeah. Oh, I can't. My hands are tied.
We got divided government.
Yeah.
So Biden like hates having majorities in the House and the Senate right now. He's like, fuck,
I
goddamn
gotta
it.
do stuff.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, but we keep getting off track, but still, I think it's all
Yeah.
it's all under the umbrella of trolling.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, but the blind spots part, that was a good point. It's like, you just show people, you just turn it around. You just shine a mirror to people.
Yep.
You're like, this is what you're doing. And they're like, no, nuh-uh, you're doing that. You're like, okay, all right.
You are too.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing that. That's the other thing. Okay, here's another tenet of trolling. It's like shameless admissions of accusations. If someone's like, you're just doing this for this, I'm like, yeah. Yep.
So you're very transparent. You're never like, no, this is what I really believe.
Here's a good point. This is something I've said many times before. It's like, one of the good things about trolling, like I said, when you don't do like acute phase trolling, when you're also emotional about it, you're also bothered by it. Like, trolling is when that person's mad. They're angry. The victim of your trolling is angry and you're laughing.
All right.
If you're angry and they're angry, you're not trolling. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
You might think you are, but true trolling is when you're laughing and they're angry. It's like you can troll in real life in the car. That's the easiest place to do it. Someone's driving behind you and it's at night and you're going 35 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour in a 35. You're going 40 miles an hour in a 35.
Oh, I love that.
And they speed up behind you. This is like my favorite story that ever happened related to road rage, because this is exactly what happened. And I have rules about road rage. And this is how I troll in the car. It's like, if you're riding my ass, especially at night, because the lights are really annoying. If you're riding my ass, I'm giving you like 20 seconds to stop, like cease and desist. Yeah. I'm like, I will maintain my 5 miles an hour over the speed limit for maybe 20 seconds. And once we cross that line, if you're still doing it, I'm going to reduce my speed by 5 miles an hour in increments every 10 or 15 seconds until you get the point.
Yeah.
And this, I've gone as low as like 10 miles an hour in a 35. And I remember one time, this is trolling, you know? I mean, this is how you can do it in life. And it's easiest in the car. It's like you can only really troll effectively when you have freedom of knowing that there will be no consequences for your actions, which is why internet trolling is perfect. I mean, you still sometimes see people. That's why Facebook trolling can be dangerous, because it's always people you know. And it's like family, and you don't want it to make it weird. And like, you know, like you want it, like Twitter is better because it's completely anonymous usually. Even if you're not anonymous, usually the people you're arguing with is like Comrade Stalin 669 hammer sickle emoji, you know, and then it's a picture of like whatever. It's like, I don't know who this person is.
Yeah.
But also in the car, it's like you're fine mostly. Like even if the person freaks out and like wants to fight you and get out of the car, you can just drive away. It's fine.
You're in the car. Yeah.
But I remember I was driving and it was a BMW. The two worst offenders are always BMWs or Jeeps of
really
road rage. This is my observation. This is my observation. Well, because it's usually a BMW 3 Series, which is the cheapest BMW, because that person has a lot of issues. They probably can barely afford the 3 Series, and they're doing it for appearances because they work in sales, and they need to pull up in something that has a logo.
Yeah.
They can't pull up in a Hyundai. They need to project success. So they'll overpay. They're paying $450 a month for this car that frequently has issues.
Yeah.
That's the worst BMW you can get. So this, well, you go ahead.
I just love the idea of somebody in the 3 Series who's like struggling to pay for it, but needs it for appearances and the extra stress, and then them stuck behind you doing 30 and a 35.
Now you understand. So this guy speeds up behind me, and I see it, and I get excited because sometimes I'll like leave the house, and it's like, you know, like back when I lived with my parents, it would like my mom or my dad would say something and make me mad and be like, I'm going for a drive, and I'm mad in the car, and then I see someone quickly approaching in my rearview mirror, and I just light up. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're gonna give me an outlet for my rage, and it's gonna be you, and you have no idea what you're about to get yourself into, and it's so exciting and so much fun, you know.
Isn't that then in a way an expression of your anger?
It is, yeah.
But because it brings you joy, that makes it a troll.
This is so. Let me finish the story.
All right.
This guy speeds up behind me, and I was mad. So it was a situation like that where I was angry, but as soon as I knew that I had a lightning rod, and he was going to play the role, then I was giddy.
Yeah.
And he speeds up, and it just went exactly like that. But the best part was he was making it so much better. Because I start slowing down a little bit. He's riding my ass immediately like inches. I mean, this has happened to me twice in my life. How I had people get so close that you look in the rear view and you think they're in the back seat. Like you can see the person.
You don't see the hood of the car.
You don't see the hood. You don't see the lights.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like that happened 2 times ever in my life. And so this guy's doing that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my thing. And I start slowing down. And he starts initially he's flicking the high beams. He's flicking the high beams. And I'm like, this is awesome. Then he starts laying on the horn, laying on it. I continue to slow down. And finally, he's laying on the horn, flicking the brights and doing the snake thing behind me where he swerves back and forth. And I'm in my car and I've never had more fun in my life. I'm laughing hysterically, you know? And then he had to follow me for a while. It was like a 1-lane road up in North Jersey. It's like he couldn't go around me.
Yeah.
So that was just like one of the best things. But it's like, again, it's like he was so mad. He was so mad. And you know, if it's an actual emergency, they'll just drive around you.
Yeah.
It's like if someone's in the hospital or someone's like bleeding out in the back of the car, they're just going to go around you.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just this person's being an asshole.
So it's weird. It's very weird that person is following the rule of you can't pass, except they're riding your ass.
Yeah. And he's probably enjoying himself to an extent, but he's in an angry way. Maybe he also had to blow some steam off and he's using me in a way, but he's clearly mad doing it. So he's not trolling. He might be getting some benefit out of it.
Yeah,
but he's not trolling.
An expression.
I'm trolling, because I am laughing and clapping and I'm like, yay, this is so much fun. I'm like, I love this so much. So yeah, it's not just internet trolling. You could do trolling in all different ways. You could troll in person. One way to troll is it's similar to Twitter. Like I've done this before where I was having a conversation with a woke person who we all know on Facebook, who's always really annoying on Facebook. And this person is very, very woke. And we were just standing outside and this person was with their friend and they were talking about some woke shit. And this person's Jewish. And they started saying something about Israel or whatever, and I'm drunk and I'm outside smoking a cigarette and I was like, I'm gonna troll. And so I just played this part where I was like more woke than this person about Israel. And I was like, isn't it horrible what they do to the Palestinians? But this person's a proud Jew. And then because they were trying to portray how woke they were to their friend, they had to begrudgingly agree with me.
Yeah. And
because they knew you can't be woke and be pro-Israel. Like you really can't. A lot of people try to do it, but they can't. When you really like put it to them, you're like, isn't it weird that they have like, they're supported by a world superpower, they have one of the most powerful militaries, and then they're just bullies and they just like kill Palestinians and they build settlements to, enrage them, whatever. It's like you can have a pro-Israel argument if you want, but if you're trying to be a woke person and be compassionate,
does not allow it.
You cannot, because then you're like punching down.
Yeah.
So again, it's like that's like real life trolling. I'm like, let me have some fun, and I don't even really care. No. But I'm just like, this would be fun. I'm like, let me see if I can get this person right here.
Yeah. As a troll, do you feel like you have a unique relationship then with the people you troll? Like you almost need them to stay ignorant to their own hypocrisy. Like if they were aware, if you make them aware and if you don't anger them, then if they're like, oh yeah, you know what, you're right. Like that's got to be so unsatisfying.
Well, it never happens. I mean, that goes back to the very beginning where it's like, how do you want to spend your energy on the internet?
Yeah.
Do you want to spend, I mean, maybe in real life it could happen, but you'd be better off, if it's an in-person conversation, you'd be better off just stating your case and not being a troll about it.
Yeah.
Or maybe just poking fun in a more playful way.
Yeah.
Like, come on, you know that's not good. And then they'll be like, okay, fine. But on the internet, it's a waste of energy trying to convince people of things.
Yeah,
the trolling certainly won't accomplish that. So it never happens. So it's never unsatisfying in that way.
So there's really no goal in trolling other than your own enjoyment.
Yeah, trolling is just, I am actively trying to bring suffering into the world for my own enjoyment. But mild suffering. Mild suffering, just bothering someone, making them upset. Yeah. making them mad.
Yeah.
Anything to get them into a negative state of mind so that I can be in a positive state of mind and feel fulfilled. That's what trolling is about, Tim. That's what it's about.
I'll say unique. I'll say it's unique. But what's cool about the internet is, or actually, I don't even think it's cool. I don't know what to call this. But the internet was always sold to me as a way for people to connect. And then social media came along, and people had then an antenna to project who they are. And they never cared about connecting like no one cared about that anymore. Now it was just, this is who I am. I need to tell the world who I am. They need to know. I don't care if they need to know who I am. I don't want to know who they are. And trolling creates this unique opportunity to break that down.
Yeah.
And it, in a weird way, connect you to the people that you troll.
I don't know if connect is the right word, but...
Yeah, it's true. My vocabulary is very limited.
Well, it's like social media is a battleground, it's a battlefield. And most of what people do on social media, and you can notice this, especially the more you look out for it. You look out for these things, and you start to notice it all the time. It's like, notice how many interracial couples there are in commercials. This is just a funny thing that me and TJ always do. It's like crazy. You start to notice it and you go, every single commercial has an interracial couple. Every single commercial. Because these companies are just like, we want to look good.
Yeah.
And they want to project a level of morality and be like, we're a good, compassionate company. That's why...
AstraZeneca.
Yeah. They're like, yes, our products are made by slave labor in sweatshops, but we have an interracial fake couple in our commercial.
I just want to get the Apple on there.
Yeah, get that in there. No, they're good though. They're good. So a lot of what social media is a battleground for people to assert their moral superiority. Yeah. That's what they're doing. That's what most people are doing, at least when it comes to politics. It's not like someone's like, I just had the best sandwich. Look, here's a picture of a sandwich. I'm talking about when they're speaking politically, because that happens to be the place where trolling happens. Yeah. But usually what they're trying to do, if you don't think this was an insurrection and an attempted coup, then shame on you, Then you don't care about decency and democracy and American values. That's a moral stance.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to place themselves in. And so one fun way of trolling is to just find, and I've also said this on stage, but it's true and it's funny. It's like you can find equivalent moral arguments for the opposite stance on the issue.
Yeah.
Because moral arguments are easy to make if you just think about it for a few minutes. So it's like with the lockdowns and coronavirus and all that, the obvious moral stance is that people are dying. People are dying. And you think it's funny, Tim? You think you want to make jokes about it? People are dying right now. That's the obvious moral stance, is like, people are dying and you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Unless you're freaked out and you support the lockdowns, you support the masks. But the other thing is like, okay, whether you like it or not, if you're someone who supports the lockdowns or the masks, it is an erosion of personal liberty, right? Like, they're always going to make the argument, well, if a private business makes you wear a mask, then you have to wear the mask, which is fine, but it is at the behest of the government. So you can't take that out of the equation. They'll always try to make that argument. It's the same with the censorship on the social media platforms. You can make that argument, and that is a fair argument. However, you can go back to these committee meetings where they have Mark Zuckerberg there and Jack, and there's these politicians, and they are trying to get, they're asking them, they're pleading with them, or they're like commanding them. This is what you need to do, get these people off social media. Yeah. So even if you want to say like, oh, they're just making their own decisions, it is government influence. Anyway, if you want to support, I was thinking like, well, what's the equivalent moral argument? It's like, okay, didn't millions of soldiers in American history, not saying I even believe this, that's the other thing. I was just thinking, like, what is an equivalent moral argument? Didn't millions of soldiers die for our liberty, our freedom? So isn't supporting lockdowns kind of like spitting on their graves? You know? Isn't it kind of like spitting on their graves? So if you're going to say to me, like, you're a piece of shit, people are dying, I'm going to be like, you hate the troops. It's like, it's an equivalent moral argument. Yeah. So it's like, now we're both on the moral high ground. Now what do? We're seeing eye to eye.
Yeah.
They'll never believe you.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I'm still morally superior. But that's what it is. Most of social media, politically, is a moral superiority game to people, even if they don't view it as a game. They don't realize that it's a game.
Yeah.
You know, but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
Bring morality into it. Like, I have no morality, you know? Yeah. Maybe I do. I probably do.
I think you do.
But my character doesn't. My character has no morality.
Yeah.
And then when I'm in the internet, I'm like, in character. I very, very infrequently will break character. It's usually just this person.
Yeah. And
the character is like a chameleon. Like a snake Jew, if you will.
The character is what he needs to be.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for people looking to get into trolling?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to get into trolling.
Download Twitter.
I would say Twitter's a really good place to start.
Yeah.
Now, trolling used to be a little easier back in the day because you can call someone like retarded and get away with it. These days, it's like, it's a low bar for a ban.
Yeah.
But you can say things like, you're an idiot, or an imbecile is a good one. You're an embarrassment. You should be embarrassed. Things like that. Not expletives.
Yeah.
You want to avoid that. Well, you could say you're a fuckface and you won't get banned.
Fuckface is okay.
Yeah, don't say faggot, don't say retard. You got to be careful, but it makes you have to be a little more creative with your trolling.
Yeah.
So it really raises you up as a troll. In their effort to reduce this kind of behavior, it makes you better.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, it's best shown through anecdotal what I've been conveying to you. I mean, there are strategies. Like, I used to have this strategy called the question mark strategy. It's where you make an assertion. So someone makes a statement. Maybe on Facebook they make a statement, or on Twitter they make a statement. So what would something be? Maybe someone's like, there should be a $15 minimum wage. It's unacceptable that we don't have a $15 minimum wage. And maybe I'll make a legitimate counterpoint just to start us off, you know, to get us into the rumble.
Ooh, all right, so almost like sheep in wolf's clothing kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Exactly. Yeah. so no, sheep in wolf's clothing. So I'll throw it out like it actually kind of is like a sheep in wolf's clothing, because I'm throwing it out like a counter argument and they view me as an enemy, but in reality I'm just playing around. Yeah. So I'm really harmless. So it is kind of like that. It's funny. So maybe I'll say, like, it's going to put a lot of small businesses out of business if they have to pay people $15 an hour. And then this person, it's always like a paragraph. You know you're doing the right thing, by the way. Reddit is a great place for trolling because you can do long trolling. Not you. You're not doing the long trolling. They are.
Yeah.
You know you're doing a good job when it looks like this. When it's like it's like a line, one sentence, and then they do a paragraph. And then you do one line and they do a paragraph. You're winning.
Yeah.
And then one of the most satisfying things is to just not read it at all. So you'll say something and then they'll send you this big argument. I might read the first sentence and then I'll just respond. Knowing nothing of what they say. And sometimes I'll say it. I go, I'm not fucking reading that. You're an idiot. It's so satisfying. But one fun strategy that I've tried before, and it works really well, is the question mark strategy, which is like, they say $15 minimum wage. I say it's going to put a lot of people out of business. They'll give their big counterpoint. Well, actually, that's not true, and that's just a conservative talking point, and blah, 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 blah. And then I'll just send a question mark. Like, I'll just respond like, Question mark. That's it.
Yeah.
They will usually respond again. What do you not understand about that? It's very simple. Blah, 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 blah. And then I'll send 2 question marks. And this can go on.
Yeah.
I'll just keep sending question marks.
It's almost like slapstick. Like, it's very like Three Stooges.
Yeah, exactly. And like people like, so trolling, like sometimes you can find it easily, but sometimes you want to bring it and you want to direct it and you want to be in more control of what's going on.
Yeah.
So you fish. You're basically fishing. You just cast some bait and you throw it out. It's like the other day, Biden got sworn in and everything, and I said, you know what? Now that this Trump stuff is over, I think I can honestly say I give him a B+. And this is just bait.
Yeah. You're looking for it.
Like, because Facebook for me, it's like I used to be able to get people more easily, but everyone knows now. Most people who follow me, they know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So they just laugh at it. They think it's funny. Like, there's a lot of laughing emojis.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of angry ones because people are like, oh, Dave, he's doing that again. But I don't know. Then one person responded to it and said, oh, you would give this a B+, that he did this, that he did this, that he did this, that he did this. And I just said, I responded to him and I said, I want to tell you that I'm joking, but the fact you took it seriously is also funny. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I was gonna say this earlier, but I always say this. It's like whatever you want. Like your interpretation, I agree with it. Like whatever you think I'm saying, like I'll make ridiculous jokes on stage, and people will be like, "Do you really not think the Holocaust happened?" And I'm like, "Whatever you want." I'm like, "It's up to you." I'm like, "Do you think that I believe that? Then I do."
Yeah.
And let's have fun with that. So when I say something on the internet, I give Trump a B+. And people are like, are you joking? I'm like, then yes.
Yeah.
People are like, you must be joking. I'm like, yep, then I am. And then if people are like, what the fuck, dude? You really mean that? And I'm like, then yes, also. I mean it then.
Yes and yes.
Exactly. Yes and yes. It's like, it's completely up to you.
Yeah.
You build your own adventure, you know,
and
with my trolling.
I think that's like the main thing of trolling is like these people that you troll are really in there create their own adventure book.
Yeah. I'm like, this can go any way you want it to go.
Yeah.
I'm going to either disagree with you, sometimes in a very plainly arrogant way, and just deny. You could send facts.
Yeah.
Or statistics, and I'll just say no.
Yeah.
And you could say, well, what do you have to say about this? Because 47% of people said this, and this is this. And I go, no, they didn't. I'm like, where'd you get that, CNN? Fake news.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever. God. There's so much to do.
Yeah.
But, or I'm agreeing with you sarcastically.
Yeah.
And I'm pointing out negative aspects of your opinion by agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Like by saying, I love Joe Biden because I want to get back to new wars in the Middle East. And so I'm agreeing with you. I also like Joe Biden. Yeah. Here's why. Oh, you don't like that? But I thought you liked Joe Biden.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
well, I like him too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm like, oh, too bad we're on the same side. Exactly. It's like if you were, it's funny. Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like that person who's like agreeing with you, and then they go, and another thing, I don't think white supremacy is necessarily that bad, and you're like, oh no. You're like, I agree with this person, this is not good, you know? And so you're being that person, but knowing that you're joking, but they don't necessarily know that. Yeah. And in some cases they don't know it at all, because if it's on Twitter and they don't know who I am, and they don't get my shtick, then it's beautiful.
That's what so many politicians and social influencers have revealed themselves to who they actually are to trolls, and like it's almost become like a great tool. Yeah, I enjoy trolling. People are like, we got to ban trolling on the internet. Let it go, because it's exposing people. It's a good time. The few times that I've done it, I really enjoyed it.
It's so much fun. I encourage everyone to get into it.
Yeah.
It's like a fun hobby. It's a really fun thing to do.
Where can people find you trolling? Do you troll anonymously? Should we not?
No, I mean,
your-
it's like my Twitter. I got banned for life for my first Twitter account, and they banned my IP address at my house. So what's funny is too, like no one, my parents or sister, not that they would, cannot create a Twitter account because the IP address of that house is banned. But now I live in Hoboken and I have a new IP address, so I have a new Twitter. And for a second there, I was going to do it as a bit, like get banned from Twitter and Facebook in solidarity with Donald Trump, like, you know. But I was like, nah, fuck that. I'm gonna stay, and I'm gonna get them to ban me because I just like went like, oh, reliable. If you want to get banned from Twitter, is just go to David Hogg's Twitter.
Yeah, you're saying.
And just call him retarded. Yeah, then you're guaranteed. Call him a retarded faggot. You'll be banned within 45 seconds, guaranteed. 24 hours, then 7 days, then. It's either a month or you're just done.
Yeah.
So I got the first 2. So now I'm on thin ice, but it's kind of exciting because I'm like, how will they get me? I'm like, I'm not going to let it be easy for them. They have to get me. But I don't know what my Twitter is. It's like D Wavy with a bunch of Y's, but I think there's like 4 or 5 Y's.
All right.
And like, don't add me on Facebook, like whatever.
Yeah,
Most of these people probably are friends with me on Facebook. They can see it. Like, and then on Instagram, I do just funny, like I just try to make it more funny. Instagram's a better place.
Yeah.
It's not a trolling place.
Yeah.
It's a mild trolling place.
I feel like that's the one social media where if I was going to delete everything, I would still be, I'm going to keep Instagram.
I keep Instagram because I actually enjoy it.
Yeah. Where can people find you on Instagram?
Namery.
Namery. Also, Storytime with Dave.
Storytime with Dave. Yeah, I don't care about any of that other stuff. Just subscribe to my podcast. That's all. It's an ill podcast. It's 5 stars.
It's fun. It's fun time.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to add? I think we're all finished here.
Not really. Yeah, I think we covered a lot.
And if you enjoyed this, please troll the episode.
Yeah.
All right, play us out, Tim. Tim's kinda dumb, let's help him get smart. It's time to teach Tim stuff.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much to both of you.
My episode was way better than yours.
I was actually going to say that was one of the worst episodes I've heard.
That's so good, dude.
That was 0. I laughed 0 times.
Come on.
I'm not gonna post either one
killing.
of these. These are garbage.
Killing what? What were we talking about?
I was killing the game. What were you talking about? Baseball? Who gives a fuck?
You were doing jokes. You were just being like, yeah, you got to be an asshole. And also, by the way, I don't really know my Twitter, even though I know exactly what it is.
I don't know how many Y's it is.